Partners, architect Mark Hopper, attorney Liz Succi, also Mr. Ayala, and who else? I think that's our guests. So we've all gone over our paperwork, so go ahead. I guess Liz is first.
Thank you very much. And everyone, thank you for conducting this meeting tonight. I know it's a challenge for those of you who haven't had a Zoom meeting before, but it's not so bad and you get used to it pretty easily. But thank you for taking your time this evening for hearing us and listening to our presentation. I represent 204 LLC and Workforce Partners. This is a group that purchases, rehabilitates, and provides housing to a mid-level group, those who are beyond the affordable housing income guidelines, and those who may not be able to afford market rate units. So there are a variety of workforce partner properties in Norwalk. There's one on West Avenue. There's one on Connecticut Avenue. If you see a sign that says IVE, that's a Workforce Partners property. So they acquire the properties, rehabilitate them, and bring this product to the market that bridges the gap between affordable units that are 830G restricted by state statute in terms of income and rental, and then market rate. So the proposal before you relates to a property at 204 Flax Hill Road, if any of you had the opportunity to drive by. The site is generally at the intersection of Taylor Avenue, where it terminates at Flax Hill. If you had the opportunity or if you didn't, there are 4 structures on the property right now. The most prominent one is the structure at the front, and we call that the Ferris Mansion. It was constructed late 1800s. Oh, I should take a step back. Mark Hopper of Kroski Architects will address you in a couple of minutes just to go over some of the details of that building and the project that we have in case you have any questions. But just to go back, give you a little orientation, that main structure had a slightly different look to it when it was first constructed. A fire damaged part of the building and the dome and the spire were removed. And then there were also some other architectural features that were changed. Annexed to that building is what we call the annex, and both the Ferris building and the annex have residential units. In the back is the garden house, that also has residential units. And on the southerly side of the property is what we call the carriage house, and that has 4 units. The proposal is to demolish the carriage house, and hopefully in your packet you have information not only from Mr. Hopper, but also from Todd Bryant that discusses the current condition of the carriage house and the fact that it really doesn't have much architectural history or significance any longer due to the changes over the years. Currently, there are 36 units throughout the property dispersed through the 4 buildings. If all the approvals are secured that we need, as I indicated, the carriage house would be demolished and a new structure would be constructed in its place, bringing the total number of units on the property to a total of 46. That's really the long and short of it for me. I'd like, if you wouldn't mind, to have Mark Hopper join, and he can also screen share with you some photos of the Ferris building when it first was constructed, what it looks like now, and what we propose it to look like after all the approvals hopefully are granted. That building would be restored and made to look very similar to what it looked like when it was first constructed. Questions for us on the special permit application that's been submitted to the Zoning Commission and which is going to public hearing next month. I'm certainly happy to answer those, but the special permit application deals with certain height and bulk requirements for which we need relief from the regulations, and there is a new provision in the zoning regulations to allow for certain relief to be granted if an historic structure is being preserved and maintained under certain circumstances. So at this point, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like Mark to join in, and he can share with us some images, and then some images not only of the structure to be restored, but also the new structure. Mark?
Great. Thanks, Liz. This is our second time in front of you. We were involved with the project at 3 Elmcrest.
Yes.
So it's, I think, that's a good project to lead into this one, and hopefully gives you an idea of our capabilities and what we're really trying to do with this project as well. So let me go right here. So can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, good. So so here we've got three photographs side by side. The original mansion building, again, Queen Anne style. I think you guys more than anybody kind of know more history probably about this, about the building and what it looks like and what it looked like at one point than anybody else. So I won't necessarily dwell, but again, Queen Anne style, very reminiscent of the wraparound porch, kind of asymmetrical roof, gable ends, projected bay windows, turrets, things along those lines. As Liz pointed out, in the late 1950s, there was a fire at the building. It destroyed the upper portion of the attic, third floor, and there was some rebuilding that occurred. And then in the 1970s, there was some additional. That's when the building was really converted into multifamily housing, 6 units, 2 units per floor, first, second, and third. And then somewhere in the history of the project, the porte cochere came off, the wraparound porch came off, and we're kind of left with what we see today. So there's really not a lot of character defining elements on the exterior of the building. We're somewhat hopeful that there may be some reminiscent shingle patterning underneath the vinyl siding. We did some exploratory demolition, and it was very inconclusive. There might have been another layer of some type of sheathing that was underneath the vinyl siding. So we really haven't gotten a good view or good look if there's really any of the original siding left intact. Fortunately, there's quite a bit of character defining elements left in the building, inside the units themselves. Kind of give a little orientation. You can see where my cursor is. There's a single unit on the first floor that you enter off of a small porch that faces Flax Hill, but the remaining 5 other units enter off to the side where the porte cochere once was, and that's really where the central stair is that connects all of the 3 floors. And a lot of the millwork, the trim work, wood paneling is still very intact. Stair balusters. So that's very fortunate, and kudos to Workforce Partners for maintaining and keeping other elements in the units. Some fireplace surrounds were left intact and have been maintained. So there's some nice history to the interior of the building, but we're primarily obviously looking at the exterior of the building. Our rendering on the right shows our proposed changes. Again, what we're looking to do is pull the existing vinyl siding off of the exterior building. And then when we really started to take a look at how we would approach this building, we really kind of focused on 3 primary elements that we thought that really express the character of the building. And it was really the replicating of the 2 gable ends on the north and west sides of the original mansion. So in this area and on the area over here, we're looking to rebuild the existing gable ends. We're looking to cap the existing tower and turret, and then complete the wraparound porch so that we've got a nice new entrance that enters onto the porch that allows resident to get into the front unit on the first floor, but also be able to gain access around to the side entrance to that central stair to gain access to the other 5 units. So we're very, I think we're fortunate that this zoning amendment is in place that really allows for buildings of this vintage to be cared for and restored and rehabilitated to some degree. That provides some obviously incentive to a developer for that to occur. So that's something that we're obviously, very excited about, as I'm sure you are as well. So what we've obviously tried to do is pick up period details and elements. We're not to the point where we're doing really historic replication. We haven't gone primarily from really a budget standpoint to emulating and copying the detail of the existing paired columns. But you can obviously see by pulling back some of the elements that are relate to the character of the building, that I think it really brings the building back to some of its original form. With our work, we are not making really any major changes to any of the units on the interior of the building. There will obviously be some work that will occur at the third floor as these gable ends and a replication of some of the windows that match the existing. We've got kind of a round half circle top window in this gable end that matches the form and detail of the original building, as well as kind of two round top windows, and trying to emulate some of the trims that around that window up on the third floor. So where those two elements kind of tie in is that there'll be some minor work on the units, but primarily this project is an exterior intervention. So really just going in, the documents that I'm showing you here are really part of our zoning application. There's a number of slides here. I won't go in detail on every single one, but I kind of wanted to highlight a couple of features just so you can get an understanding of what we're doing. This top plan is the existing floor plan. You can see this little side porch into that front unit, the side porch into the central stair that ties all those floors together. So in our proposed floor plan, you can really kind of see the extent and layout of the wraparound porch, really emulating that central stair centered on the what was the historic main entrance of the house. Then bringing the wraparound porch to the side that ties into the side lobby. We haven't looked at extending the porte cochere. Primarily, one is that there isn't a need or use of a porte cochere in today's modern world, and really from a more practical standpoint, because of our parking requirements, we do have a side parking lot here that if we were to emulate the historic porte cochere, would have really rendered this main parking area to the side of the house unusable. So we've really been trying to match function with a historic intervention to kind of bring this building back to life as close to as it once was. Again, here's some side-by-side existing elevations. West elevation in the top, which is the side, existing and proposed. Lower is the south elevation, existing and proposed as well. So you can kind of see the extent of what we're trying to achieve with this project. Again, our anticipation is that, or we're hopeful that we'll get back to some level of existing siding that was covered up. But if not, we are also prepared to provide shingle siding that's very reminiscent of what the existing or the original building was. Some of these drawings also indicate heights, which are things that Liz spoke about, some of the things that we're looking for that don't meet current zoning, but certainly putting back the roof over the tower is corner turret is an important feature of this project. So we need to get some relief from the existing zoning codes. This colored elevation shows what we anticipate the coloration of the building. And I'll jump one more to get to materials that we are anticipating using. Again, asphalt shingles in this pattern and configuration, which will be on the tower and the gable ends. Again, a cementatious or equal shingle siding. We are not replacing windows. The existing windows will remain, but we are looking to bring back trim around the windows, and in our coloration, we're really looking at what you see here, paint colors, is a blue for the body of the building, and then highlights of the gray and the country redwood, as is illustrated in the elevation. Then we'll be looking to also incorporate various trims on the facade, and we've looked at and we're showing a couple of different types. Again, a composite trim that's paintable, but looking at shapes that are very reminiscent of the detailing of the original building. So maybe before I move on and talk about the new building, I think I'd open up to see if you have any questions that I can answer or address.
I do. It's
Yes,
Eric.
Derek.
You know, I was very impressed with what you did over at Elmcrest, and
Sure.
and this looks equally impressive. And I have one issue in the, once the work is all done and you have this marvelous looking building that has more of the flavor of the original construction, I can see nothing worse than having satellite dishes stuck up on the building and ruining the look of that facade. Have you contemplated anything about how to deal with people who want to get satellite TV?
This is Andy. I can field that question.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the short answer is we don't allow satellite dishes at our property. We don't allow, in our leases, we don't allow the residents to affix anything to the exterior of the building, period. So,
Yay, thank you.
not just beautiful historic buildings like this, just any of our buildings, because it causes a lot of damage and it's pretty unsightly. So you Liz pointed out, we operate under the IVE brand, the black signs with the blue letters, and you will probably drive around and notice that there are no satellite dishes on any of our properties.
Okay, thanks.
No problem.
Anybody else? David.
Okay.
So you may want
Wait, if you talk to my phone, maybe turn off yours.
So I just want to say a couple of things. So I live in Golden Hill, just maybe 2 blocks from this property, and I drive by it every day. And it's the building is a funny looking building in its current state, and this is a drastic improvement. But I do want to say just thank you, because you guys, when you took over the property, you did a serious cleanup and improved it quite a bit. And people in the neighborhood commented on it then. And I think this is just going to blow everyone away. So, I think it's a great project. The only question I have, I like everything you're doing. But I wondered what your thoughts were on putting the full sort of rotunda dome shape back on the turret versus the more conical roof that you've chosen.
Sure. certainly we, when we look at these projects from a design standpoint, we also obviously have we watch very closely on costs. We really try to balance really matching historic detail at which may increase costs, which could put a project in jeopardy from moving forward or being accomplished correctly or appropriately. So the point that you bring up was we did talk about that very early on in the design process. And to be honest, we really felt that A, it needed a roof, and B, if that we'd be, I don't know if willing is a good term, but we felt that it was a good compromise to put a conical roof on in lieu of the cost to replicate an onion type dome. So that's really where we landed from kind of balancing cost with actual replication and ease of construction.
Yeah, and this is Andy again. I just want to make one other point, and just kind of edification about a little bit about our company. So the goal of our company is to provide, as Liz kind of indicated in the beginning, to provide housing in the kind of 60 to 100% AMI range, which our company feels is a kind of a gap in the affordability of housing in Norwalk, but in general just across the country. And so we really target trying to keep our rents in that range. So while we spend a lot of money to kind of upgrade the sites, we try and do it in a way that we can find the right balance between keeping rents in a place where people who are teachers and nurses and firefighters and such are able to afford our apartments, but also striking that right balance between costs and rents. And so this site is currently in all the apartments meet those that criteria, kind of in the 60 to 80% AMI range. And the new apartments that we're creating will also fall within that 60 to 80% AMI range, or at least that's kind of where we are right now. So, and as Mark indicated, it's just all about finding the right budget for the right rent. So our goal of the project is not just obviously to complete the restoration and add more workforce housing in Norwalk, but also to kind of be able to say that this site is 100% kind of affordable within that that range of median incomes. And so we did make that compromise early on to try and keep the rents low. If our budget presents in such a way where we have potentially additional room in it, that leaves us open to making adjustments in the field, and certainly that would be one of the adjustments we would consider. As Mark said, we discussed that very early on, and that's something that we would have loved to have replicated. And like I said, if the budget allows, we still might try to accomplish that feat. But we didn't want to just overshoot ourselves and then end up in a situation where we have to, push rents kind of like all the other developers do in Norwalk, and because that would just kind of be outside of the, kind of the mantra of our company.
So to pick up really on what Andy's saying, that's part of the primary difference between this project and 3 Elmcrest. 3 Elmcrest was market rate housing. So it's a different market all around. But yet we're as architects and historic preservationists, we're obviously trying to push the envelope as far as we can push it, so that so that we can undo the damage in a project such as this to buildings that haven't been cared for in the same sense that that we would like to see, and obviously that Workforce Partners would like to see as well.
Thank you. We'd love to see the rotunda back if it ever worked out in the project. The elevation you have with the conical design, given the expansion, that was put on the roof, it does look fine. I mean, I don't know that anybody else would notice that there was anything different. But it would be really amazing if the rotunda could go back. But I understand everything
To meet Port
you're
Cochere.
saying. No, the rotunda.
Sure.
on top of
Okay,
the-
oh, that, yeah,
the
okay.
dome. Yeah, no, the Port Cochere I agree with. So, but otherwise, I think it's all really, really good. So thank you.
Great.
Anyone else? Any questions?
No?
I guess.
Okay, so I'll quickly review our plans for the new carriage house, just to, so you can see how the two buildings kind of work together. Again, so, maybe this is a good way to kind of move into talking about the carriage house building that's to the right of the Ferris Mansion. So, this gives us an overall view of how we see the Ferris Mansion looking upon completion. And the annex building that Liz talked about is kind of at the rear. Then the new carriage house building occupies this side of the site, which I think kind of helps frame the site and frame the other projects that are on the site. So we're fortunate in some degree that there's quite a bit of slope at the back side of the site, and fortunate meaning is that how it related to our project here is we were able to tuck this new building into the side of the slope. It's really kind of a single loaded corridor design where we've got an interior corridor on the lower level and exterior quarters on the upper level on one side of the building, but then are able to get units on the lower side of the slope of the building. And we essentially get 3 floors of residential units. A variety of different sizes, from studios to 1-bedrooms to 2-bedrooms on the 2nd and 3rd floor. So this lower level is what you see is kind of tucked into the hillside. The outside obviously has full exposure for natural light and ventilation. Then you go up to the main level. There's an entry porch that gets to the exterior walkway that leads to the main stair, and a secondary stair that gains access to all of the units, be they in the lower level, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. There's parking just outside, and then there's a little corner of the building that has 2 parking spots that kind of tuck underneath the building as you get to the 2nd and 3rd floor, which expands over that parking area and then gets us other unit types, 2-bedroom units on the 2nd and 3rd floor. So, a nice mixture of units. And it allows us to kind of increase the unit count there. But then, again, still, as Andy talked about, still meeting the kind of affordability requirements and market that they're looking to achieve. So again, as we found, and as Todd Harrell also noted in a report that that he provided to Workforce Partners and maybe provided you as well, there's very little historic or character defining features on the existing carriage house building. You think over its history, there's been a lot of different interventions that have occurred. Obviously, with converting that carriage house into a residential unit, there's been a lot of tack on porches and stairways and exit stairs. So really, and the building has been sided. So really, there's really only 2 primary elements that you can kind of get a glimpse at if you look at the existing building. And that's this really exciting flare detail where the building transitions from what we believe was clapboards on the first floor to sidewall shingles on the upper floor with kind of a strong belt course with trims. So that's one of the elements. And the other elements are really some brackets that pick up and carry projected rake trims. So with this new intervention, we looked at least at those elements to try to incorporate them into this new building that we're calling the carriage house. So this is the main north elevation. You see all 3 floors. The elements are, again, it's a single loaded corridor. So you've got open corridors on the first, second, and third floors, which is really kind of a nice feature in some regard because it allows natural light and ventilation on 2 sides of the unit. So these windows that you see here are windows into kitchens. So you can get a nice light and nice natural ventilation in the shoulder seasons in this building. The west elevation is the elevation that faces Flax Hill. The elements that you see here is this lower level is the entry into the underbuilding parking. But then we also incorporated a shallow kind of Juliet balcony that allows larger sliding glass doors to, again, be able to bring natural light and ventilation into these units. It also is a device that helps break up the mass of the building and, again, give it some character. We also incorporated a projected roof, or pediment, which again is held up by brackets. The east elevation gives you an indication of the slope and kind of shows how the building kind of tucks into the side of the hill. Again, the south elevation gives you an indication of what the building looks like on that elevation. Again, kind of incorporating the details that you can see and are found on the other 3 elevations. Coloration is similar, not exacting, but similar to the Ferris Mansion. We obviously wanted to be able to tie the 2 buildings together in materials and coloration so that there is a dialogue between the 2. And again, I think it frames the site rather nicely. Getting into materials kind of very similar to what was found on the Ferris Mansion. Again, with the exception of now we've got lap siding on the lower floor where the Ferris Mansion had brick. Again, very similar trims and paint colors and materials for composite trims to be able to create some of the detailing that we're looking for on this building, as well as capitals or columns. And then a rendering of what the finished product would look like. So that's all I have for you today. Again, if you've got questions about this building, we'd be happy to answer them. But was happy to be able to present this to you so you could see what the thoughts of the project are.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the commission? I'll take that as a no. Yeah.
So we should ask for a motion in support of the project.
Okay, so commission members, can we have a motion to support this project?
Moved.
I
Eric?
second.
Who was that? I'm sorry. Was that you, Eric?
Yes, it was, Joe.
Thank you.
I'll second.
And that was,
Holly.
thank you, Holly.
And where did Liz go? and Judith. Oh, Liz and Judith, raise your hands if you approve.
They have to unmute.
Oh, well, okay, Liz, Judith is a yes. Liz, yes?
Yes.
Or no? yes, okay, so, and I'm also a yes. So that's a universal approval.
Well, thank you very much, everyone, for your attention and for your time. We certainly appreciate it. And I think after this project is constructed and the site is redeveloped as proposed, I think you'll all be very pleased with the outcome and with the final product. But thank you for your time. I know it's difficult during dinner, just after dinner and on a summer evening, but we certainly appreciate everything that you've done on our behalf. So on behalf of Workforce Partners, I would thank you again and wish you all a very nice rest of the summer.
You
Thank
too.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night all.
Okay,
Thank you.
signing off,
Bye-bye.
Is that a motion to adjourn?
7:42.
Moved.
Thank you, Eric. Take care, Dana.
Okay, bye-bye.
Everybody stay safe.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Say hi
Bye-bye.
to Kathy for me, Eric.
Okay, we'll do.
Yeah. We're really off. And it's on Zoom. I mean, it's on YouTube, by the way. It's recorded. Yeah. Oh, how did that happen?
I banged it up against something today.
Oh.
And it came
Oh. Yeah, I was thinking about that call. I guess I was talking to Todd about that tower and I realized, A, we don't, unless we can find the blueprints, and B,